So here I think we're going to do today. Let's finish all your minesweepers in class today. So amongst yourselves, who would like to, so there's two conditions. I'd like someone to volunteer to go first and someone who thinks they're the furthest away from being complete.
That would be Gabe. Yeah, that's definitely me.
Okay, because you have like nothing?
I have HTML and the most basic, like I have...
Did you take the copy pasta of like how to load a game from Thursday?
Like the Axios.get.
Yes.
Yes, I
cool.
do have that, and that's.
Let's start with Gabe.
All right.
So Gabe, if you want to AirPlay to my machine.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know if I have that going. Reflector teacher.
What's the other thing?
Those are the two things. Someone who wants to volunteer.
Oh, right.
And someone who's willing, and someone who thinks they're the furthest away.
I don't know. I think I'm pretty far away too.
So.
Gabriel's MacBook Pro.
This is so
Cool. Let me make sure we're actually recording. Are we recording all this?
Why is it saying PHP up here?
Okay, cool. Maybe make your screen make your font a little bit bigger. Command plus. All right. So why don't you run your game? Let's see what you have working. So now the rest of you are willing, like while you're watching, if you want to like code, that's cool. If you want to like watch and copy your own app, but hopefully we'll have enough time to get to everybody today and go like we'll practice it like a couple of times at least, maybe up to 8 times.
Awesome.
Okay, so you have load sample game. So if you click on load sample game, what happens?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, cool. Let's go look at your code.
All right.
Okay, so you have, if you scroll to the very top, you have an app, and you're importing a bunch of stuff. And you have an app component that has a constructor that calls super props like we always do. And you make a new state that is essentially a copy of like the empty board from the APIs, right? So this is a pretty typical thing where you will start with a state. Some people call this the null state, right? So it's the very first state you would have that represents like nothing's going on yet, or what would an empty game be like, or if this was like an employee database, it would be an empty employee database, right? It'd be a database of nobody. So cool. Let's go look at your render. So scroll up. Okay, cool. So you have a div that's going to be your main component. It's your main DOM, right? So remember, all renders always return one parent object. Everything is inside. So inside of your div, you have a header and a main and a table to represent your board, which is, I think, probably what most everybody is going to do. So on your table, there's a T body, which has probably nine rows, like a header row, and then something below it.
Yep.
So your very first row has our call span trick, and I think that S in call span needs to be capitalized.
Yes it does.
So make that S a capital S. Cool. So you're making the call span of that first row equal to, if you ask your state for the first row of board, so board is 0, how long that is. So if it's an 8 by 8, that'll be 8. If it's 16 by 16, that'll be 16. You have a button inside that says, hey, when you click, call load sample game. And then it says you are on game number this.state.id. Cool. And then your board is just a bunch of TDs that are this.state board of 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, then 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, and then 2, 0, all the way down. Awesome. Let's go look at what it looks like in your load new game.
Right here. Okay.
So load sample game goes to Axios and is doing a get against game. So the first thing is that we bring up the API documentation. So copy that URL minus the /James.
Minus the slash.
Yeah. If we copy that, we'll see the documentation for it. So if we look at the very first thing where it says create a new game, we'll notice that the verb to use in this case is not Axios get, it will be Axios post. So in order to make a new game, we have to And the reason why, so this is a little bit of like internet history for you all. So in the early days, right, the internet was super slow, and some browsers would, while you were reading a page, would prefetch links behind your back. Right, so imagine you're reading like the homepage of the New York Times, right, and that like on your 14.4 dial-up modem took like 3 minutes to load, right? So you're like reading some articles, right, and then you click on an article and then it takes like 3 minutes to load that article. So what browsers would sometimes do is they would feel free to pre-fetch links for you, like hoping that you're going to click on that link. So we have the idea of a get resource. Get resources are what we call, here comes a big word, item potent.
Item what?
Item potent. Item potent means if you get that resource, it has no side effects. You're not changed by asking for that, you're not changing, right? An item potent thing would be like at a bank, checking your balance. How much money do I have? You have $20 in your bank account. How much money do I have in my bank account? You have $20 in your bank account. Right? But depositing money or withdrawing money is not item potent. Right? If I put $5 in my bank account, right, and if the response is they all tell me how much money I have, every time I put $5 in my account, I have 20, 25, 30, 35. Right? If I withdraw, I have 20, 15, 10, 5, 0. You owe us money, you overdraw. Right? So an item potent request has no side effect. You can keep doing that request, knowing that you should get back the same response. A non-item potent request has side effects. Right? I'm asking somebody to do something for me. They're going to change something in the world and give me back the current state of the world. So in web parlance, GET requests are supposed to be item potent. Right? You should be able to ask for that resource without it changing. If I ask for your homepage, right, I'm not telling you your homepage to change. Like, give me your homepage, cool. Give me your homepage, cool. The content in it might change, right? The content, if I say, give me the New York Times homepage, will have today's news. That's the resource. The resource of the homepage of New York Times is today's news. It doesn't mean every time you get that URL, you get the same content, the same bytes back, but it's the same resource idea, today's news. But if I post to the New York Times homepage, maybe that's how you give them a new, like, live news thing, like, hey, I took a picture of a thing that just happened. In order to do that, I don't get that resource, I post that resource. Because post, clicks, updates, deletes are by definition non-item potent. Cool, so we go back and look at our API. We're making this a post request because we're saying to the world, hey, this thing is going to change something. Right? What's it going to change is it creates a new game. So the thing that changes in the world is the database of all games. So if you go back to your code and you make that, and then if we then inside of that, we can get rid of the let new state equal to. So get rid of line 30. Yeah. No, just line 30.
All right.
Right? So the response that comes back, that response.data is our state. So if we call set state, rather than it equal to, this is where we pass values to it. Okay. So instead of set state equal to, wrap some parentheses around that. So get rid
around the new state?
Yes, around new state. Right? And our new state here is just response.data.
Instead of new state?
Yeah, it's just response.new state. Response.data. Because that's what Axios gives us back. It says, hey, the response.data is going to be the JSON that comes back from the API. Okay. Right? So let's save this and go take a look at your game now. Right? Sure, and as you load the sample game, hey, look, we're playing game number 9310. If you load sample game again, we're playing game 9311, so forth and so on. So we're making a new game. Right? Now, why did the board not change? Because a new game's board is empty. Right? The status of a new game is, hey, here's something empty. So, for instance, go put an X in one of those strings, just to see if our thing is working. Replace that with an X. Cool. So now when your app loads, there's an X, but when you load a new game, the X goes away. So we know that we're reflecting the state of the board to to what the API is telling us, right? Because we're seeing something react off of it, right? So having your null state be empty and your new game state be empty, like, did it work? The only way we know it works is because your game number changes. Cool. So we have so our load sample game should probably be called new game now. Let me just fix that up. So call it new game. New game. And then down below we call sample game. Instead of load sample game for the button, you try to say new game. And then instead of load sample game, have that be new game. Let's just make sure that still works. Save that. Run. Yep. Cool. So now let's look at your code. So here's the deal. You probably want to start refactoring all those TDs into individual components, right? So what did you all call those components when you made them? You probably had a couple different row or square, some people call them cells or boxes or tiles. What do you want to call it?
Go with cells.
Cell, okay. Let's make a new component. Let's make a new file in your source directory called cell.js. Cool. And inside of this, let's make one of those default components using whatever shortcut you think you want. Cool, there's React. There's another thing. Yep. Let's call it cell. Cool. Let's get rid of the state equals line. We're not sure we're going to need state just yet. Delete line 4. Cool. And in our render, here's what we're going to do. Go back to your app and copy one of those TDs.
Just the TD?
Mm-hmm. Just one TD. Let's copy that and put that in cell. Instead of the inside of the
return.
Cool. So now instead of this.state.board of something, we're going to tell the cell what to display. So let's give that a name. So instead of state, it's props, right? Because props is how we pass.
So this dot
props dot and the whole thing, right? Instead of the 0, 0. This dot props dot and did anybody come up with a good word to call like what's in the cell? Value. Yeah, it's called value. Value is good. So now here we're displaying a cell, right? Instead of pulling the value from the state, right, we're creating a component, and we know that in order to have a component receive information, we pass it props, right? So it's just a TD. So go back to your app and replace that very first TD with a cell. So TD thing, and I'll put in a cell component. Cell, and then we can close. Oh, so don't do an open and close one. Just have it self-close. Cool. And now we have to pass it something, right? What do we pass into a cell? What's the prop that a cell takes? The value. So put a value there inside of cell. Value equals. And then inside of React braces, the value is going to be our whole, what we used to have there as state.
So
this dot state, this dot state dot board of what?
0, 0.
0, 0. Yep. So all we've done is replace one TD with one cell component. And instead of having this dot state board 0, 0 right here, we are passing it to the cell and displaying it. Right? So if we save this and load the game, we should still see nothing going on. But we should still see our XGO playing. Yep. So this means that things are still hooked up and working. Right? So let's put the other 7 in here. So it in, yeah. Yeah, so now replace our second index with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, so that's right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, sorry. Yeah, cool. Now, grab all those inside of this. Yep, not including the TR. Grab those and replace the second set of TDs with that. Highlight those and then paste. Make sure your alignment's there.
You have to import the cell file?
Yeah, we're going to in a minute. So now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 1 here. All those zeros are 1s. Okay, there we go.
How do you
1s.
do that? Command option down there.
1. Yep. So, yeah. And then replace those. The 2s. Right? Little tiny steps. Right? We made a cell, now let's use it everywhere. We're not worrying about mapping or anything. Yeah. Good thing the default game isn't like a 40 by 40, right? We'd be here all day. Typing out 40.
Good work. I'll do it.
Small steps. Six. Push it. Six. My last one. But not the least one. This will be 7.
Yep.
All right, and as Mike pointed out, we've got to import cell at the top so we don't get an error.
Yep, start there.
It's already there. Oh,
Yep.
nice. Okay, so let's go look at your board. New game. Yep, awesome. Things are working. So if we have a board that's represented, right, we can make new games. What do we think the next thing we need to do is?
Make it so it actually pops. Make it so that it logs.
Yeah. So what's the next part of what's the next thing a person does in a minesweeper game? They click somewhere, and let's have that log. So let's go into our cell, and let's have it be able so we can click on the TD. So make a non-click. Yeah, and make that equal to a set of braces. This dot some handle method.
It's that what?
Some method we're gonna handle click or check, right? So maybe you want to use the parlance of the game, right? Call it a check, because soon we're gonna have a flag. So now we have a check method. Now you've got to define that method. So above your render, let's go define that method. Above render, but inside of our class. So we're going to say check equals a function that takes an event, and an arrow function, right? And let's just console log. Console log some funny message that says we clicked. Console log, and then let's put in a string that says whatever message you like. Instead of a string. Just make sure you put it in a string. Good click. Good click. Happy little clicks. Good clicking, bro. Cool. So let's go see now if you have your console open. And then click. Good clicking, bro. So, in addition to the click, what do we need to know about the click? Where? Cool. So now, what are the two things that a component can have? They both have 5 letters. No. So the two ways that a component can have data, either they own something, state and props. So what do you think the position where the click happened, is that going to be state or is that going to be props? Does it create it or does it get it?
It gets it.
It gets it, so it's props. So let's go back to our app and let's give that first cell 2 new props. Right? So in addition to value, what do you think we need to give it? Where it is, right? Yeah, so it's row and column. So let's give it 2 new props, one called row. What's its value going to be?
0.
0. Yep, 0. Yep, you had it right the first time. Yep.
Oh, curlies?
Yep, curlies. Because we were asking it to evaluate. Row is 0, and the column is going to be
0.
Column is going to be 0. Cool. So if we save that, we go back into our cell. At the end of our console log, we can also add this.props.row and this.props.column. Yes, yep, this.props.row and
So then separate curlies?
yep, separate curlies. This.props.column. Now you got to turn these. You have to have dollar signs in front of these because these are string interpolation.
So do I need the backtick then?
And you need the backtick. You got it. So the backtick goes at the beginning of the string in place of the hard-coded regular tick. And that becomes a backtick. And then you put a dollar sign in front of this props column growth. Cool. So now let's see what happens when you start clicking on that first column. Right? Good. Good click on 0, 0. All right. But what happens if you click on any cell? Clicked on undefined, undefined. So what this means now is we've got to put that row and column on all the other cells. Let's go do that. Okay. And I don't like all the repetition. Right? I think here, the backticks go around the entire string. It's console.log instead of being a single tick, or the backticks. We'll get back to that in a second. Right. Paste, 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 paste. One of the things I think helps when we repeat this is it starts to become, and it'll take some practice, you'll get to the point where you'll start seeing the pattern. Right? And then the where do I put looping and mapping will become more obvious the more that we repeat code. So I don't mind at this point that we can only support an 8x8 game, and like every TD looks pretty much the same except for the fact that we have all this stuff repeated. Right? Because if all we were going to do is support an 8x8 game, right, it would work. I mean, that code would be a little bit repetitious, but it also helps you practice your typing. And you're like, how do I copy pasta? Right. You can also practice putting multiple cursors and doing one paste in.
Oh yeah, that'd be smart, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Boom. Right? So these are the things that like repetition is going to help you with. Like, wow, that was really tedious. I bet there's an easier way of doing that. So now let's fix up our rows and columns.
Oh, I put it inside of the curly bracket.
Oh, you did, didn't you?
Oh no.
Oh, I got to fix all that. Sorry, I was talking, not
No, it's
watching.
okay.
Cool. Now fix either fix all those or fix Now we just make those zeros 1, 2, 3, 4 match. Yeah, we're literally matching. That, left. Boom.
What do you do to select the whole row and like that?
To select the entire row and have my Command L. Select the entire row. If you're looking to do the multiple curves, something else.
Are you in Atom?
Control and
No.
You're in VS Code?
Yeah.
Command Option down.
You're trying to make a multi-cursor select.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Next one. This might be a case where like maybe copying and pasting would have been faster. I don't know. But look at all the typing practice you're getting.
Get really good at hitting that right.
That's right.
You gotta make it really free.
Oh, god damn.
Yeah, fine. There's always more pressure when you're doing it in front of a bunch of people. Like, we're all watching game time.
Yeah. Enjoying the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I type better when no one's looking. I make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes when on Mondays. Yeah, and when
One word.
usually like the worst thing is like doing live coding. Like, everyone hates doing live coding during a presentation. It's pretty much what I do for a job.
That is your job.
It's my job is to live code. Cool, almost there. I got 5 anyway. Yeah, you have like one too many
Yep.
selects.
Person over here is
Push it down.
for you and different.
And then
It's probably Control Shift down for you.
oh, yes. Medic.
Selecting the whole line.
Try function. Like option on the Mac will become control or function on the PC.
Okay, it's Control. It'll be Control Alt down for you, I think.
There we go.
Yeah, not Shift. What was this?
Yes. That's the thing that got me to like, nope, I'm not doing cross platform editors have different keys. Because I was for a while switching between Mac and PC multiple times a day, and that drove me crazy. And that's why I ended up in Vim, because it's the same keystrokes on every machine you ever go to. There's no like control function alt. You don't use any of those keys. Now you can, but primarily what you do is just plain like non-meta keys.
Can you just do everything in the console?
Sorry, what's that?
You just do everything in the console?
Everything in console log.
You mean in the terminal?
Isn't it in the terminal?
Yes. Yeah, I do everything in my terminal. There's also GUI versions of Vim. Hey, cool.
We did it.
We don't have any errors. Not to start clicking on places. 0, 0, 3,
Hey,
4,
brother.
3. Right, so we're clicking on places. Cool. So when we click on a square, what is the thing that we must do? When you click on a square, what do you need to do once you click on a square?
Shit, what's there?
Yeah, we gotta tell the API we click somewhere. Right? We've got to tell the API, hey API, Gabe just clicked on cell 2, 3. So in order to do that and update the state, we've got to do that in the app, right? The cell itself doesn't know anything about the API, right? All it knows is, hey, somebody clicked on me. We've got to tell somebody that we got clicked. So let's make another function in our app called check. So you have new game, make check equals. It's going to be a function that takes some arguments. What do you think those arguments are going to be?
Row and column.
Row and column. So inside of parentheses, row and column, make it be an arrow function. Here's what I'd like you to do after you have the arrow function defined. Go over to your cell and grab your console log. No, sorry, to your cell.js.
Yep.
And grab your console log and just copy it from check. That whole line, just copy that and put it up in app.
Do we need the other props
No.
cell?
Nope. So yeah, just paste that here. Now instead of this.props.call, get rid of this.props. Because now we're going to get that from the argument.
Get rid of
This.props.
I see.
Right, so we don't have props here, we just have the row and the column as arguments. We're essentially moving the console log from the cell up into the app. Now if you go back to your app, back to your cell, go back to your app. So if this is the function we're going to call, we need to tell the cell what to do when clicked. So go to your very first cell and add one more prop here. Let's call it check. And it's going to be equal to this dot check. Right, we're saying to the app, saying to the cell, your check property is going to be my check function. Right, we're going to pass another property to the cell that says, when you are checked, this is what I want you to do. And before we start copying it everywhere, let's make sure it works. So we have a check function in our app now that does console logs. Let's go back to the cell, remove console log.
Should I remove the whole check function?
Yep. Just the body of it. The body of it. Just the console log. Delete line 5. Whoosh. And instead of console logging, what we're going to do now, leave your open. Yeah.
Yep.
What we're going to do now is we're going to call the check function we were provided in props of this dot props.
Do that here?
Yep. So we're going to ask this dot props dot check, and we're going to call it, so parentheses. And what are the two things that it takes? Row and column. Except here, where do row and column come from? This dot props dot row and this dot props dot column. So we're saying, hey cell, when you're clicked, call your own check function. My check function is when we call the check function I was given, that's coming from the app, and I'm going to pass it my own row and my own column. Right? Remember we said props flow down and events flow up. So in order for me to have my app say, hey, something was checked, I needed my cell to know that it was checked, and for my cell to ask my app, hey app, this is a cell telling you that I've been checked, and this is where I am. So if you save this, we should now have this ability only on the very first cell. So if you make a new game, oops, you have an error. Red. Make a new game. Oh, this not okay because we can only click on the first cell. We've only put check on the first cell.
Oh, and so when I
click on another cell, it's like, hey, I don't know what check is.
Oh, okay, because I haven't.
We haven't duplicated that.
Okay.
Yeah. So clear your screen. Reload your game. Just click on the very first cell. Hey, we clicked on 0, 0, bro. Let's copy and paste that check property everywhere. So what's that?
I see the check in the app.
Can you scroll up a little bit, Gabe?
Do what? Oh,
Scroll.
Check right here?
Yeah, it just says console log. Hey, you clicked on row and column. Right? We made we took our TD and we turned it into a cell. We added an on click in the cell that just console log, hey, I clicked. We added letting the cell know where it lives, and console log that in the cell. Then we made a function in the app that says, hey, I'm going to get called by a cell, and it's going to tell me it's row and column. And then we pass that function to the cell so that when it gets clicked, it can call back to me. Right? This is the idea in React where properties flow down and events flow up. We tell the cell, your check function, your check property is my check function. So when you ask for this.props.check, you're really calling my check. So now Gabe should be able to click anywhere and still see, hey, we're clicking on these cells. It looks exactly the same as it did before, except now it's the app that knows. It's the app that knows it's been clicked. What does this mean? We go back to our minesweeper API docs. Go back. If we scroll down, this is getting a something. Hey, look, there's a check URL. What does the check URL take? In its URL, it has an ID. The game ID, we've got that, right? This.state.id. And lo and behold, what does it take? Row and a column. Let's make a new function. Let's go into our check function.
This whole thing?
Yep, the whole thing, back. And below our console log, let's do it after the console log, paste it right here. Now, let's go look at the URL real quick. It's game/the ID check. So first, let's turn it into a backtick string first.
So the whole thing?
The whole thing, the whole URL is going to become a pack because we're going to interpret the entire URL. Backtick and backtick. Right? And backtick.
Yep.
Yep. So now, right here, we're going to put the ID. So we're going to use $sign interpolation. This.state.id. Cool. And then after that comes the word check. Cool. But now we're also going to provide it some parameters. So as a second argument to post after our string, we're going to provide it some arguments. So still inside the parentheses, comma, nope. So a comma and an object, which are the curly braces. Yeah. And inside of that, row colon, we got to give it an object. So an object is always bracket key colon something, yes. Comma key colon something. Row colon. Comes in right here as an argument. Row colon row, comma, call, C-O-L, colon, column. Save this. Go play the game. New game.
What?
Game works.
What?
Right? And the game works. So very close.
So stupid.
Okay. So let's look at HTML. We're making cells. And your cell should take at least 4 things. The value of the show, the row where we are, the column where we are, and a function to call when checked. What am I displaying? Where do I live? What do I do when I'm checked? Those are probably the 4 things your cell needs to take. Yours may be called different things. Maybe you decided to use COL instead of column, or you called it a different thing, or you didn't call your function check, you called it what to do when checked or something, right? You don't have to use the same words, you just have to be consistent where you use them. So your cell should look something like this. Maybe you called yours boxes or square or tile, and then you called this contents instead of value, whatever, I don't care, right? Row and column, and some name of some function here. So let's go look at your cell. Your cell is pretty simple. It's going to render a TD that has an onClick. That onClick is going to call this dot, whatever the property you gave it for the name of the function to call back up on app. And the contents of that TD are going to be the whatever you called your value that you told your cell is. Closing open of the TD. So open TD onClick equals React interpolation does not check. Close of the open TD. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll put your cursor right here, Gabe, after the bracket, and press enter. And then put it right here after the closing brace here. Like that, and hit save. You don't have prettier turned on. We should turn that on for you at some point.
I do have prettier.
Doesn't
Maybe...
seem like you do. Oh, what does it say? Problems. Click on problems. Doesn't know clicking. Click on.
Clicking is broke.
Click on. Okay, that's a spelling.
That's a spell checker. Yeah.
That's a spell checker. Okay. Cool.
Prettier does work in like HTML. I've had some issues with it here.
Okay, we'll figure that out later.
All right.
Okay. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come around to everybody's minesweeper. We're gonna do everybody's minesweeper. Well, because you're all trying to follow along and copy pasta. Right, so I said you can either try and follow along and copy pasta, or you can just pay attention. Right? Because we're going to come to you. So it's your choice. Are you going to try and take this time to copy pasta and fuck up your code? Right? Or are you going to try and pay attention to what's going on? Right? So let's go look at your app.
All right.
Right? So when we click, scroll up a little bit. When we click, we're going to call this check. Right? Good clicking on some row and column row. We're going to call the API, say post to minesweeper API. The game number is in game state ID, check, and we're going to give it a row and a column. When it comes back, all we do is we take the response that comes back and shove it in our state. So why don't, Gabe, you try and implement flag? If this is check, what would you do to implement flag? Yep. I would make a copy of that function called flag instead of check. Flag.
I'm just gonna wait until.
Flag. And then change the flag, change the check there to flag. Right? The API says flag. You can double check the API docs to make sure that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty sure it's called flag. Yep, there it is. Games ID flag. In your cell.js, you need another function to handle that right-clicking. It's too much. Yep. Oops. Oops, too much. You got double cells. Class cell, undo, Command Z, undo, just undo there. Copy that. Too much copying and pasting. So instead of check, this is flag. And instead of this.props.check, that's flag. Right? And then here, you have to add another handler inside of your TD. Yeah. So another handler, another property after onClick is going to be on, no, not double click, right click, context menu, on context menu, and make that equal to
this dot
flag. Cool. Now back in your app, just like we passed click check to everywhere, we have to pass flag everywhere. Mm-hmm.
It's a little warning though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm doing this 17 times because it's working this many times.
Right. Flag is going to be this flag. Now I would just stop here and see if you can flag something on the first row, right? Hey, we've got like one before I spend all my time looking at this. Make a new game. Click somewhere. Hey.
Yes, I can.
Except what's going on?
The context menu is still popping up.
Let's stop that from happening. Go back to your cell. Right? After you in your flag function, you want to say event.prevent default. Parentheses.
Where?
Before or after. Just in somewhere in the implementation of the event. Before we're done.
Prevent default.
Prevent default.
What's the on context menu?
Right click.
Right click.
It's one of the many. I call it as a function. Open and close. Call it. There we go. Now save this and see if you can flag something on the new game. Flag, flag. Click on something. Like
So I can get
right, you get nothing. So now just repeat your flag function. Now see if you can play a full game.
Wow. You win that one. Bomb.
Yep.
No bomb.
Cool. So we're missing something where we're displaying the number of bombs. Let's put that in the game. So if we go back and look at our thing, we want mines, state.mines. Let's put that in put that in the header. Yeah, why not? You are playing game something. Put another p tag. Oops.
That's all wrong.
There are React interpolation.
Let's
see if that's working. Yep. Mines, new game. There are 10 mines. Flag something. There are 9 mines. Cool. So there's other things we could do, like maybe we make it so that you can't click on something unless you're playing a game, right? Maybe we don't want to say you are playing game number 1 while we're doing this, right? We can work on some of those fancy user experience bits. Let's do the thing that I think tripped a lot of you up. Let's do the mapping. So come back to your code, and now first TR. So scroll up a bit. Scroll up a little bit. Oh, wait. More. In the very first TR, we're going to turn these 8 cells into one map. Into one map. So after the TR on line 69, put a new line and an open and close curly brace. And a new line. So let's take a look. Inside the curly brace. Inside the curly brace, a new line. So let's take a look at what's repeated in all of these cells. Let's also look at what's different. What's different on every one of those lines?
The position.
Yeah, the value of the column. Right. That's the thing that's going to change as we go. Right. What's the same here? Right. Is the row. Right? So let's do this. So the thing that we're going to map over is this.state.board 0. Because this is the thing that's changing. The thing that's the same is this.state.board 0. So this.state.board 0. And by the way, no spaces around your brackets. If React is complaining about that, that's not an error.
Ooh, about what?
No space after D. Or bracket.
Or bracket. Okay.
Or bracket.
There's no space. State that board.
Bracket. Bracket 0. Index 0. This is what we're going to map. So dot map.
Okay.
Right. So now the map is going to get each of these elements. Right. So inside of parentheses, right, the very first thing is going to be our function. So the very first argument to our function is going to be whatever this is, right? So that is the actual row and column. So, but it's actually the value that's in there. So here we can just say value, right? Because we're going to have, at this point, this.state.board 0, 0. This.state.board 0, 1. And this is an arrow function. We have an arrow function inside, still inside. Arrow function. What our function? Return. Cool. Now, copy one of these cells. Go to the entire line. The whole line. The entire line. I think Command L. Oh, too much. Is it I? So copy that. I put that inside of our map and say return that. Right? Space. So instead of this.state.board of 0, 0, that's our value. The whole thing is, nope, the whole thing inside of that is just value.
Oh, I got
The whole thing inside of that, open and close.
Inside of curlies?
Yep. Because, right, we're taking this.board of 0, the 0th, the first, the second thing of that. But now we need the column, right? Well, if we remember, that's a subtle thing, the map actually gives us 3 things as arguments. Each value from what we're mapping over, the index of that thing, and the array itself. So let's put a second argument after the value. Let's call it index. Now we've got to put parentheses around both of these now, because we've got two arguments. Right? And then instead of column here, 0, it's going to be what? Index. Delete lines 75 through 82. Go play your game. Cool, our first row still works. Go copy that now and replace your other 7 with that. Yeah. Yep. So copy either the entire, copy the entire TR if you want. Copy that, and replace your second TR with that. And your next one with that. And the next one with that. Right, tiny little steps, right? Rather than try and do a whole, kind of map the entire board all in one state, right? Your brains cannot yet handle mappings of mapping. Except
that's because all the rows have.
So now that's row 1. And row 1. Oh, also on line 79. Don't forget the 179.
Oh, yes.
So you're changing both of those to 1s. Each one has 2 zeros you're changing. So now 2 and 2, 3 and 2, 3 and 3, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 4, 5, 5, 6 and 6. 7 and 7. Let's see if your game works. else that works, right? But we still have this repeated 8 times, right? Let's go back and get rid of that. Go back to the very top of this. So, for your very first TR on line 68, the blank line. Open and close curly braces, a new line in between. Now what's the repeated thing and what's different? What's different between this TR and this TR?
Now it's the
it's this board 0, board 1, board 2, board 3, board 4. So now we're going to map over this .state.board. So this .state.board .map, right? And what would we call? And you just said the word, right? This .state.board 0 is it's a row. So this takes row and an arrow function.
Do we need an index as well?
Yeah, we're going to need an index as well.
Should I go ahead and put that?
Yeah, go ahead and put it in. We're going to need it. Comment index. Arrow function. What do you think is going to go inside this arrow function?
This TR.
The entire TR. Yeah, copy that. Put it inside. And now put a return before the TR. And then open and close parentheses. Return. Enter. Press enter. And grab the TR and put it inside of there. All the way down to that. Yeah, cut that. And paste it inside of there. So instead of this .state.board 0, what are we going to replace that with? Row. That's our row. The entire thing. This .state.board is 0. Undo. The Command Z, please. Command Z. Command Z. We're going to replace this .state.board 0. That's the thing that's changing with just row, including the 0. Right? Because we're iterating over the entire board, we're getting a row at a time. Right? Now this is going to be, we're going to have a different index here.
Oh.
So we can have index and index. So let's call this the row index. Row, R-O-W capital I index. And put row index there. Cool. Now, delete lines 83 to the end of this whole sequence of TRs. 83. All the way to the end of the sequence of the TRs. All the way down, all the way down, 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 down. So that last, get rid of that last TR. Delete. Scroll back up. Nope, too far. A little bit more, please, so this is in the center of the screen. So where my hand is, in the center. Scroll up. Stop.
Okay.
Up a little more, please. Just a little more. There we go. Cool. So let's clean this up. Let's be tidy because your prettier is not working.
Yeah.
So a space after the end, please. Let's indent line 73. One more. The rinse out of the TR. Indent line 74 twice. Cool. Indent line 75 2 times. Indent that so it lines up with the R. One more.
Yeah.
Make those purple ones line up. Make your TRs line up. Save that. Indent. No, we're good. We're good. Let's go see if your game is working. Yeah. Cool. Right. So now we're not hard coded to an 8x8 anymore. Let's go take a look at that code and break it down one more time. What are we doing? Saying, hey board, please go through your board, whatever's inside a board, one at a time, please. Every element of a board, scroll up to the top, all the way to the top, is a row. A board is consistent of a row followed by a row and 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 a row. Right? Each row is an array itself. So scroll back down to our big old map. So this .state.board map gets a row at a time and a row index. That map is going to return a TR. The concept of that TR is taking our row and mapping it one at a time. Right? Since our row is an array of our columns, we get a value at a time and an index for that. And for that, we just return the cell. whose value is the value, whose row is the row index, whose column is the, we can call this column index if we wanted to, that's okay. Our check is our check, and our flag is our flag. Right? We took our repeated TDs, and we made that a map. We took our repeated TRs, and we made that a map. This is a map inside of a map. Scroll back up to where your new game is for a second. New game. Put a comma after the quote here before the parentheses on line 29. Put it in the line 29. Here, comma. New object. Difficulty. Colon 2. Let's make this an expert board. Save this. What? Looks like a minesweeper game, huh? Right? Little tiny steps. Right? Even if you never got to the map of the map, we had a working 8x8 game. Right? The point of this exercise was not necessarily to have like the different board sizes. I mean, that's part of it to understand the map of the map. Everything we did up to the point when we started doing maps of maps is really the exercise for understanding this, right? The extra spaces of the boards, right, is just a bonus so we can support larger games. So if we could figure out a way, also look, it says there are 99 lines, 10 lines are out of 100, right? So if we had a way where we could have a drop down and specify that difficulty dynamically, we would have the ability to have different games. But once we got to the point where we are passing down the events and calling them back up, that's where the minesweeper game was. So even if you had your game to the point of TRs with repeated cells, right? All we had to do from there was pass down the check and the flag function, have working context menus, call those things back, add the implementation in the app to call the API, and we're done. That's why I said you were like 10 lines of code away from having a working.
That was a hard 10 lines. Those are a hard 10 lines.
Yeah, there are 10 lines, but they're 10 lines.
To be fair, in the game API, when you click, you can click and it shows you what it's bringing you. It's showing an empty board.
For a new game.
For a new game. So I didn't realize I had to have a static board originally. I thought that was going to make the new game board.
We could. Here's why having that static in the beginning is so good. So go back to your app for a second and comment line 11 through 25. Comment that out. Save your game. I'm trying to iterate over the board, right? So if I don't have a board, here's what I have to do. Go into your, what line is that on? What line there? Yeah, 61. So go find line 61. Yeah. So now you have to have like if statements here. If I don't have a board, do this, otherwise do that. Then you're going to get an error here. If I don't have a board, do this, otherwise do that. Right? And you can avoid having all those if statements. Like, hey, what's going to be my state when I'm not playing a game at all? I have to have like, if there's no board, show this. If there's no board, show that. So it's easier if you just start with a state that is a clear game. Yep. So do a Command Z to undo that commenting. Right? So for me, maybe I would like have it be ID 0, whatever. That doesn't really matter. Get rid of that X. Right? The only reason we're doing a new game is because we're not really playing game number 1. Right? Let's add in that we can't click on anything besides new game until we are playing. Make that game ID 0. Now scroll down a little bit. Scroll down a little bit more. You are playing game. So take line 65. Go to the end of that line. Press enter. Here's what we're going to do. Inside of brackets, this dot game message, game capital message, open and close parentheses. Oops, you have an extra open parentheses. Oh. Yep, to your left. Right. There. Now, on line 52, let's define the game message function. Game message equals open close parentheses, arrow function. Return, and then grab line 69 and copy and cut it and put it in there. Find line 69, grab that entire thing, cut it, paste it inside of line 54. All we're going to do is move that in there. Save that, let's see if this still works. Cool. Go back into your code. Before line 54. So between line 53 and 54, say if, open and close parentheses. Also, you can just pick tab. So, I'm going to show everybody something. Delete. IF tab. Tab.
Yep.
It doesn't work? Nope. See, if this was Adam, you get an if with a parentheses and an open and close, and like, what type of statement? Right? If. So you have to type the whole thing out. This.state.id inside of the parentheses. This.state.id triple 3 equals 0. Then after the parentheses are braces. Return a p tag, kind of like on line 57. P. Some message. Click to start a new game. Right? So if the game board is 0, say this, otherwise say that. Let's go back and look at your game.
What does it mean when it says if your game board is 0?
So look what we made the state in our game. Go back to your code. The default state is 0. Right? So as soon as you get back, so go back into your game. Click start a new game. You are playing this game. So when the state is 0, this is another reason why having that default state that way is it lets us make decisions. The other thing we can do is reload the game. Right? We can try clicking on squares, right? Just click on a square. Like, whoa, hey, right, we're getting errors. We don't want that to happen. Go find your click and your flag functions. Yeah. So the very first thing, so between lines 44 and 45, if, right, this.state.game 3 equals, oh sorry, this.state.id, my bad. This.state.id 3 equals 0, return. No, inside of braces, return. Put the same thing in our check. Right? So if our game ID is 0, we don't have a game. Don't let me click on anything. Now try clicking on stuff. Right? Nothing happens. As soon as I click on new game, now I can. Right? So having that default state lets me make decisions about whether or not I'm playing a game or not. Right? The other thing that's in that state is whether we're playing or not, whether you won or lost. So now we can start making decisions about, hey, if I won, make the border, make the background of that first cell green. If I lost, make the background of that first TTR red. Right? But the most critical thing, if you scroll down code, the most critical thing was actually this part right here on line 50. Making a cell, passing in the value, passing in a row and a column, a function to call when check, and a function to call when flag. Even if we had this repeated, 64 times, right? We also then needed, scroll up, we also then needed a little more. We also needed these check and flag functions. to call the API to say check row and column, flag row and column.
So if it's not a check and it's not a flag, it's just a sock.
No, there's nothing. The check and the flag are actions.
Okay.
Check is please check this square. The flag is please flag this square. The API tells us what's inside each board position. We are telling the API, yo API, the user just did something. The user just checked a square. The user just flagged a square. The API is saying, cool, if the user checked the square here, this means the game currently looks like this. Hey, if the user flagged a square, the game currently looks like this. Right? When we flag a square, two things happen. An F shows up in that element, and we decrease the number of lines. That's what the API is doing. When we check a square, the game is doing two things. Seeing if the game is over because we just stepped on a bomb, or it's clearing spaces and showing the numbers around the edge. That's what the API is doing for us, right? We're not doing all of the logic of clearing all the spaces and computing the numbers. The API does that when we say, hey, please step on row and column. And it goes and does all the math and comes back and says, hey, if that's what just happened, here's what the board looks like now. Hey, we just flagged this row and column. Go do the math, right? Put an F there, and then check the number of flags, bombs, mines, and respond with a new state here. Right? So the things left to do, we're not going to do this. We'll check time. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll work on somebody else's. Right? So the other things we get at the games is the little drop down for the level. Right? But what would we be changing? Line 29, difficulty here. We'd be changing the state. That drop down on change, we would change the this.state.difficulty, and we would make this.state.difficulty. Go ahead and make that too a this.state.difficulty.
Go back to the dog pattern and all that.
This.state.difficulty. Right, save this. Now when you're making games, right, go back to your interface, make a new game. Cool. Go back to your code, make your default state default difficulty. There's a difficulty in here, comma difficulty. Difficulty, make that a 1. Save this. Right, that's intermediate. So if we just had a drop down that could change that difficulty, right, then we could do easy, intermediate, and expert. Right?
That's all you have to
So you can do this dot state, and you set the default as
Yeah.
difficulty.
So the drop down would be a lot easier with 3 buttons.
Maybe, yeah.
With 3 buttons, wouldn't you have to have all click functions for each one?
No, you can do it with one and another trick, but a drop down is going to be easier. Yeah. So we probably also want something to like say we won or we lost, but there's not much left to do. There's not much left to do. Right? So that's why I say like when we think about this, right, those steps of what's the next thing to do is, hey, he had a whole bunch of cells that were pulling from the state. We probably started with just a whole bunch of TDs with spaces, right? And then if you made all those your board, right, then you just made each of those cell objects, right, with a click. We needed to know the row and the column, so we added props for row and column. So we console log in the cell, the row and the column. Then what we want to be able to do is handle the click up in the app rather than in the cell, because the app is what holds the state. So we sent down a check function into the cell and called it when we were clicked. So right, with the callback, we passed down the check function, and we called that check function, this.prop.check, passing it to the row and the column. Then all we have to do is call the API and update state, and then half the game is working. Then we have to pass down the flag function, right? And then we were right-click, call the flag function. The rest is just like, hey, how do we make this from an 8x8 hard-coded thing to a dynamic 16 by 16 or 40 by 40, right? And that was just the hard mapping of a map, right? And the mapping of the map you're not going to get for a while, right? Like if you can look at that and be like, I kind of see it's mapping over the rows, right? And each row is mapping over the column, right? That's really like Inception-y type stuff. And you will get to the point where you will be able to see how that works. after some time practicing it. But this is pretty much minesweeper. And I think when most of you left on Thursday/Friday, you had probably where we started with where Gabe was. Right? I said we're not much further from being done. Right? All we added was some properties to the cell, 2 functions, and a click and a context menu in the cell. And we were done. Maybe 10 lines of code. Right? But the way we get there is we start asking ourselves, what do we need next? Right? If the next thing after having the board is letting the user click, we need an on-click. When we click, we have to ask ourselves, what information do we need? And you're like, oh, we need the position. Cool, how do I get that? Right? What are the 2 things a component has? State and props. State are things I create. Props are things I get. Do I create my position in row? No. I'm told where I am. So then I have to pass down my row and my column. Right? What's the next thing that has to happen? Well, when I click, I need to call the API and tell the API that I click. Well, I can't do that from the cell because I don't own the state. I've got to do it from the app. Cool. How do I do that? When you saw in the tic-tac-toe, the way you do it is you pass on a function that you call back to the app. Cool. I can move my row and column console log in there. What I need to do, I need to pass this to the API. That's axios.post to the API. Boom. 50% of the game is working. Adding 3 props and 2 functions. Right. But it comes back to that, like, you must ask yourself each time, what is the next thing I need to add? What's the next thing I need to do? Where is that information coming from, or where does that function have to go? This is why I say, like, when you ask questions, it works better, right? So, like, I think your all successes this weekend was working through things. I really expected probably about, like, 8 times the number of questions I got over the weekend. I was really surprised there weren't more questions. Because if y'all were stuck, right, one good question is, hey, yeah, what's the next thing I should do? What's literally the next thing I should work on? I can look at your code and say, hey, the next thing you should work on is being able to, when you click on a cell, know where your row and column is. I would have told you that, and you could have worked, and you could have done that, right? Right? So it really is about that breaking the problem down. When you can break the problem down like that, right? What you may not know is like how to do that part, right? But that's my job, is to give you that nudge in that direction. Hey, you need the row and the column. And you might go off and like have half an hour of like, I couldn't figure out how to get the row and column. Props. Oh, you're right. Right? Cool. Now you have the row and the column. What do you want to do next? I don't know. Maybe you want to call the API. You're going to try and shove that into the cell, and that's not going to work for an hour. You're going to have to be like, hey, I can't. How do I call the API? You got to do that in the app, right? But you got to pass a function. Cool. I can go back to the tic-tac-toe and see how to rip that off, right? So that's when I say, like, figuring out the flow of this is the more important part than the actual, like, what is the incantation of the right code. The incantation of the right code is great. But if we were to redo this in Vue, the incantation of the code would be different. But the process is going to be essentially the same. I need to render a board. I need to be able to click on a cell. I need to know where I am. I have to call the API, get a new board, redraw myself. That's going to be different in Vue than it is in React. But that process is essentially the same, right? How you play the minesweeper, what the actions are, and the responses to those will be the same. Cool. Let's leave Gabe's where it is, and then let's take a little bio break, and then we'll see where other people's are, and we'll catch up from there. So I'm gonna stop your sharing here, Gabe. Maybe.
On click.
Let's go.
I'm not like up until like you made the value squares and everything.